It's 11:02. We're going to begin this regular meeting of the Lake County Board of County Commissioners. To start with, I would just ask that everyone please turn off your cell phones, or at the very least silence them. Next we will move into the Pledge of Allegiance, and followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right off the bat, get a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
I'll second the motion.
To a vote.
Aye.
Aye. Alright, wanna make noted to the public that meeting recordings are available. A reminder that all regular meetings and work sessions are recorded and available on the Lake County Government YouTube channel, with transcribed and indexed videos. Recordings can be watched at any time that's best for you. Subscribe to stay informed on county decisions. At this time, we will open up for public comment. Public comment is available. Oh geez,
Community
I
information.
completely skipped community information items from the commissioners. I will go first with the announcement that just now in the last meeting, the BOCC has made their decision on the next county manager, which will be Candace Bryans. I would also point out that we had a really hard time making that decision. That was one of the crazy hardest things we've had to do. Other community items, Ski Cooper's closing day was a rousing success. Kudos to Dan and the team out there. They put on a heck of a closing day. Fun was had by all. The weather cooperated. Conditions were extra radical. If anyone was out there, you know what I'm talking about. So that was a highlight. Love to see our community come together and do fun things like that. That's all for me.
Okay, I have a few. Number one, I put a whiteboard out in front of my office so that when people stop by and they don't know where I am, they can figure out where I am. And I update that every day. The county recently reached out to try to get more foster families into our system to be able to provide foster care. And I've heard some concerns or questions from the community. Just wanna be clear that we do not have any foster families in our community, and we need them. Because when a child is taken out of a home, we want them to be able to stay in our community for the health of the child, for the health of the family, for the eventual, hopefully, reuniting of the family. And we need more community members to be that. We're not anticipating any big change. We don't know something about federal agencies moving that would cause us to need more foster families. It's a deficit that we already were existing with. It's not a new situation that's causing that. You should have heard many places, but the burn piles are gonna get burned hopefully by the end of the month. On Thursday, we've got the State of the Community hosted by the City and Lake County Community Fund. And the county will be presenting the Downtowner Transit project. So come if you wanna hear more about that. Also, I just wanna say I'm feeling pretty disappointed that the concerned citizens group who meets out of the Eagles was invited to participate in that. One of the consequences of that invitation is that we lost a really valuable member of our community, Kayla Marcella, who was serving on the Lake County Community Fund, and I just wanna acknowledge that there are repercussions to us expanding discussions in potentially harmful ways. And I'm just really grateful for Kayla's contribution to our community, even when she was no longer living here. So just publicly, thank you for Kayla. And then also, in my own personal experience trying to run for office, Tina Takancic tried to file that I had criminally been elected. She filed that with the state and with the DA, and the state dismissed it, and the DA recently dismissed that case. So I got here legally, and it has been decided by the DA. So, update from me, it was not an illegal election. And I'm very grateful to have that determined by people who are not me. And I know we're gonna have an update on the paving project, but I think that everybody should pay attention to the paving project that's gonna be going on down in Twin Lakes for the summer, cause I think it's gonna impact all of us, so we can pull together as a community to make sure that that has as little impact on our economic development as possible.
Well,
That's
we're
it.
glad you're here also.
Thank you.
You really are. Mine is interesting, but I did get voted on to the board, the Mineral Belt Trail Committee, and we unanimously decided to buy a roller. So the roller will help compact early season snow. It's a really nice addition and helps us towards the goal of making this a premier Nordic ski area. And then we reiterated that there's $70,000 of that $111,000 account earmarked for a new groomer. And so hopefully we can work with the county to work with the board as it changes. And the other thing is we saved quite a bit of money by reimagining the corner building, and I think we've found a home for them. It's not final yet, but I'll announce that when it does happen. It's a temporary home, 3 to 5 years. And then I'd like to suggest that we take that roughly $650,000 in savings and start addressing some of the roads with it, maybe half of it or a portion of it. I'd just like to suggest that. I've gotten a lot of emails about people falling into potholes, losing pets, kids. So maybe if we put some of that money towards Michael Irwin and see what we can do to help out with some people's roads, parking, that would be my suggestion. That's all I got.
Great, one final tiny note out of turn slightly for me, is if anyone is concerned about the wildfire smoke they've been seeing yesterday afternoon, and it will potentially be existing again today, there is a prescribed burn in Aspen that is sending a lot of smoke our way. There is no imminent danger, no unplanned anything, no wildfires. That's what you're seeing if you're wondering about that. Okay. Now we will get back to public comment. Sorry, I went out of order there. We will start with anyone in the room who is raised hand in person. Public comment is available for residents wishing to speak on agenda items or another issue not on the agenda to make public comments. You can be in person, raise your hand, or online, or send a message in chat. So, starting in the room, I see Jane has her hand raised. Go ahead and state your name and residency.
Jane Harrelson, 172 Rafferty Drive, Leadville. I'm here on behalf of PB Swims. Over $72,600 is in the Aquatic Center Fund that's from tax revenue, sales tax revenue from January and February 2025. We're keeping the community updated on how much money is in that fund on our website. The city also has it since they're holding the tax dollars. And we're also keeping a tally of what we have for our capital campaign. PB Swims, we're moving ahead with our capital campaign to renovate our existing swimming pool and aquatic center. And the Lauren Barrett from the city, or she works for the city, she's been putting together these meetings once a month, bringing the school district together, the city together, the county, PB Swims, the college. We've been working on solutions for indoor recreation space. And they're gonna, Lauren Barrett is gonna try to organize a joint meeting, not try, she's gonna, for June, it's set for June. And at this meeting, all these entities, we all gotta come together to make this work. And realistically, to see a pool, the county needs to drop or terminate the IGA they have with the school district right now with the aquatic center. The city and the school district need to form an IGA that, yes, the city will hand the tax to the school district for the pool only. And then PB Swims and the city need to make, or the school district, excuse me, need to make an agreement that PB Swims can run the aquatic center, operate and maintain it. So those things need to be put into place along with the, $3 million we need just to get it to, to reopen it safely. So that's where that is. If you have any questions, please email me, call me, come by and see me. And thank you for serving.
Thank you, Jane. I would like to circle back with you and talk more about that.
We're doing a joint work session. The joint work session is the city and the county in June.
That'll be happening after the feasibility study presentation comes to you at the end of May.
Yes, so as long as I can get all the details on that, I guess there's the IGA part is what I would have the questions about. Sounds, yeah,
I'll follow up with pros to see where we are, cause I think we
Yeah.
had conversation or something about that already, so I'll see where they are in terms of any communications with the school district about that.
okay,
And so,
We had some high level conversations with the school district
Yeah.
already about
okay, cool. Sweet, yes.
Jake, can I ask you how much you have in your capital fund?
So in PB Swims Capital, there's about $63,000 worth of local donations, and there's $130,000 worth of conservation trust funds that were approved by the recreation, or recommended by the Recreation Advisory Board and approved by the Board of Commissioners within the last 5 years. And that's what we have in that fund. There was a resolution in 2017, that Recreation Replacement Fund, that had about $300,000 in it, and that was resolved to be spent on new turf and upgrades to the aquatic center, but I don't think that fund exists anymore.
We can ask Candace. And I suppose you've looked into grants, you got someone helping?
I'm glad you asked. So we're applying for grants. One thing we don't have institutional support from the county, city, or school district. So we're getting our letters of support from the community and, different nonprofits, but we are applying for grants, and as a nonprofit, we are a 501c3, and we're just moving ahead. We're just not quitting.
Okay.
So if any of your rich friends wanna help, let me know.
Alright, cool. Anyone else in the room? Thank you, Jane.
Thank you, Jane.
Anyone else in the room have any questions, comments, concerns, public comment? Okay, let's check, see what we got online. I don't see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's everybody. Okay, I don't see any hands raised online for public comment. So that will conclude public comment for this regular meeting. Moving on to agenda item number 1. calendar, work session, and regular meeting agenda review, led by Executive Administrative Assistant Sandra Pettis. Thank you, Sandra.
We'll go ahead and start with, calendar for next week. It is pretty mellow so far, there's nothing, really coming up on the 21st. Tuesday, the 22nd, there is the AM work session from 9 to noon, and the PM work session from 1 to 4:30. Wednesday, the 23rd, community coffee, 8:30 to 10. Your legislative work session from 9:30 to 10. And your regular work session, 10:30 to noon. I'm also showing nothing on Thursday. Friday the 25th, and Lakes Community Coffee from 9 to 10. Team mellow week. Moving on to. So your work sessions next week on the 22nd. In the morning, we're doing project group updates. So from 9 to 10 will be project group number 1, administration. That's led by Candace Bryans, Finance Director. 10 to 11 will be project group update, public health and human services, led by Laura Cruz, Human Services Director. And 11 to noon will be community planning and economic development, led by Ann Schneider, Community Planning and Development Director. Afternoon. We'll do a quick calendar review with me for about 10 minutes. And then you guys will have about an hour and a half for feedback on priorities after the morning work session. 2:30 to 3:30 will be overview and discussion of special events permits on Lake County facilities, led by Liz S. Miller, Operations Director. And 3:30 to 4:30 will be a presentation and discussion regarding the contract with Solution Builders for the housing at 10,200 foot project with Jackie Willihan and Michael Yerman. Then on the 23rd, this will be your legislative 10:30 work session. 10:30 to 11:15, overview and discussion of a lease with Mount Elbert Moto for motorsports recreation area, led by the board. And 11:15 to noon will be overview and discussion regarding the Region 5 Opioid Abatement Council, structure, fiscal management, past and current work, and strategic priorities, led by Kelsey Maxey. Public Health Deputy Director, and Karina Shore, Region 5 Opioid Abatement Council Administrator. And then they will also do an update on city and county efforts for psilocybin regulations. That one will be led by Julia, Public Health Director, and Kelsey. Questions on those? No. Then the regular meeting
on May 6th. This is a very rough draft. I actually have an extra week this month, so yeah, everything's there could be a couple of things that change. Liz had quite a few special events permits coming up related to liquor licensing, but the corresponding special events permits aren't quite ready yet, so it actually looks like she took most of those on. Yeah, so,
Just doing all ones.
okay,
I'm-
yeah, that's what she's like.
I'm not tracking on
Chicken.
our weeks here.
Next week.
I know, but we were just looking at an agenda for the 23rd.
Yes, so there's an
And
extra week in the month where
now
you guys,
we've got, and then, so we're not gonna look at what work sessions for the 29th are, right? We're just going right to the 6th.
no, my bad, you're right, there is a special work session on the
I was gonna say,
29th.
yeah,
Nice.
since that's not a
Yes.
typical one.
It's not,
There's
yeah.
a work session and a special meeting.
Right.
Yeah, you are correct. Sorry about that.
Hmm. That's fine,
Yeah, so 429 work session. Yeah, this needs to be. Clearly that needs to be updated.
I think
I think
this one,
that
That'll be a
captures
fast
it,
one.
doesn't it?
This is
we're
the,
gonna do the one, just an update of where we're at with the proposed realignment, and then after that, we're gonna spend time with Steve Cooper in the exec session.
Yes,
cool, okay. But that's all that's on pretty much for that entire week, I think, right?
yes.
Let's
So we're doing,
hold for a special meeting at 1 o'clock on Monday the 28th, and you know what that is?
you're doing such a good job, Andy, thank you for paying
Yeah.
attention.
I have
Special
at
meeting
1 o'clock.
agenda,
Oh,
looks
this
like,
one is to
Oh, wow.
approve the contract with
Oh, yeah,
housing
Jackie's.
at 10-2.
Yep.
We need to get it done before May 1st, or else our prices will go up on
Yeah.
our housings on the 6th
Okay.
and 3rd.
Has to be signed on the 28th.
Got it,
so
Should we do it
if they're
sooner?
moving it forward.
I don't know if they'll have the
That's-
there's
contract in.
No, I was gonna say, I think, aren't we doing, we're doing the work session something the we're
It's-
meeting the Friday before to confirm
Right.
everything,
Yeah.
so we can confirm the contract.
And then the
Yeah.
contract will actually be
Yeah.
on, okay.
Yeah, that's that work session on the
Yeah.
23rd.
was it, there's also stuff courthouse renovation project fund on there, on that agenda. Discussion and consideration of the March, well, hold on, never mind, I don't know what, yeah.
So you're looking at a different day?
I opened it
Yeah,
up
I'm
on
already
that
You were
confused
doing so
enough.
well.
No, but check it out, watch, April 27th, Monday, April 28th, open this up. The
Oh, no,
agenda
it's-
attached to that is from March on my
Oh,
calendar for some reason, so sorry,
no, I'll get all that cleaned up.
okay.
Okay, so, yeah, like I said, Liz took those things off of there for now, so you'll have your regular, calendar work session, regular meeting agenda review, communications update review with Sammy, review of the quarterly public trustees report with Patrick Smith, treasurer. Discussion and consideration of the adoption of resolution 2025-16, a resolution adopting a letter of support or opposition from the Lake County Board of County Commissioners policy, led by Warren Snyder. Discussion and consideration of the adoption of resolution 2025- we don't know yet, resolution adopting a signature authority policy. Discussion and consideration of an amendment to the PSA with Teague Simonton for support with the 2025 election to be held on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025, led by Tracy Lorenzen, County Clerk. Discussion and consideration of a lease agreement between Lake County and Mount Albert Moto for motorsports/recreation area, led by the BOCC. And discussion and consideration of approval to post a request for proposal for an expansion and liner at the landfill and recycling center. I think this is gonna be split into two separate RFPs. One I think is for the expansion and then one is for the liner, yeah. And then your consent agenda will have at least one liquor license renewal. There is some special events permits on here from Liz. your reoccurring approval of your position on 2025 legislation. April Veteran Service Officer report, and then payroll, accounts payable packets, and some special meeting minutes. So, like I said, we've got a little extra time this month, so some of this might get added to. Keep you guys updated. Okay?
Great.
Can I ask 2 scheduling questions?
Yes.
So when is the joint work session with the city in June for, indoor rec? Sandra, I told Lauren to work with you since you're the only one who could see all 3 of our schedules.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Have you heard from her?
Yeah, there's
There's
2 dates, the Board of Education has a few dates, like June 10th and late June,
Okay,
that we were just trying to figure out
okay,
those work, so it's gonna
Yeah.
be scheduled.
Okay.
It'll be either early or late June.
okay, yeah, and as soon as that does, then I'll return the invite and
Cool.
it'll get pushed out.
And then the other one is the Ski Cooper the MVP community engagement.
Did you hear back from them on which date they would like to use?
I have not
Okay.
heard back from them yet. I'll reach out again and
Okay.
see, there was other information they wanted to reach out about with, and I'm waiting on all of this stuff.
Okay,
I feel
Yeah.
like we should, it's coming up, just, it feels kind of urgent for me that we don't wanna start advertising for this so late that nobody comes and participates, so.
Right, we're
I feel
what,
like we
3
need
weeks out from our 7th or 8th that we planned on it,
That's
so
like cutting it to the
I'll
quick,
yeah, get a hold of them today.
okay,
I think, I don't know, thank you, Andy, and in order for us to stay on track with the schedule, to get this schedule that we laid out,
yeah, as soon as you hear from them, whatever they decide to pick, then just let me know and I'll solidify those holds and we'll just take one off and go with whichever one they pick, cause
Yeah.
we'll have to, work on a
Yeah, I
pace
think
and
really it was
all of those things.
7th or 8th at 6 to 8 p.m. and we
Yeah,
were just letting
it was
them
just which
decide which
day.
one was best for them
Cause I think they
to
requested at least
more
2
of
options.
their
or something.
board members to attend,
Right,
which is, hopeful for. So we'll see, I'll circle back with you guys today on what I hear.
okay,
can I make a request? If you don't hear back from them by end of the day, can we look at 2 other dates?
push it out.
Cause I really don't want it to be so close that that we don't have enough time for community engagement, that's the goal. So if we just keep
Right.
letting them,
But it can't be too far out because you guys are on a time deadline for
yeah, but
being two,
two more weeks,
yeah,
two
or
more
even
weeks is,
even the following week, we could look at some dates or something, so.
yeah,
Yeah, if you don't hear back from them today, then let's explore that option, we'll just look at some extra dates and I can email those to you guys and
thank you,
see what sticks.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Sandra.
Yes.
Alright. Everyone is happy with the scheduling, no more comments. Then we'll move on to agenda item number 2, communications update and review, led by communications manager Sammy Shiner. Hello.
So a few small things, the fire danger level sign that's gonna go out front, confirm the language with the Forest Service to make sure it aligns with their messaging, and then we'll get that printed probably next week. And then I signed all of you up, and you went up for the monthly fire danger level emails with the signs and stuff with Chris. They're super informative in the summer. In your teams yesterday, I shared with you guys a folder that will house all the press releases and talking points and stuff like that. I'll keep that updated. I'll just have them all live there. And then going back to Ski Cooper, how do you guys want to engage the community at this meeting?
Right, so we were kind of between like, there had been conversations around a public work session, there had been conversations on an event. I do, after, discussions yesterday, I do like the idea of it, more of an event. Talked about putting something on at Freight. I think, it's a good space, it's got a good feel, I agree with everything I heard yesterday about that, I think it's a, you know, basically, instead of like a presentation, it's gonna be like everyone gets to sit down at tables, write down things that they like, things that they don't like, and, you know, sort of that kind of format. What was that similar to, like the, ones, yeah, so that's sort of where I was, leaning towards, instead of just a work session,
Yeah, I like that.
more of a community engagement event.
So do that and then have everyone kind of present what they talked about, or just gather the paper up and.
No, like I think we'll have probably a duality, a little bit of a presentation, and then a little bit of a, you know, feedback session.
Did Ski Cooper use a contractor to develop their MDP? Was it all in-house?
From what I understand, there was initially engagement with a local contractor, and then there was a pivot and it went to in-house development of the MDP. And I think I don't think it's changed since the early drafts, so if you guys have seen those early drafts yet. I mean, as far as like capital projects, I think it's exciting to see what could be happening out there. I just, you know, I almost feel like the community engagement aspect of things would be more about like policy and, you know, just some operational stuff. So I think the MDP, I don't know if I really wanna say this whole engagement thing should be focused on the MDP. I think it's more of like a broader thing. It will definitely be part of it, you know, I think the Forest Service wants that, which is what's most important to me, is making sure we check all the boxes the Forest Service wants to see. But I think we can also go broader than just engagement on the MDP and be like, what are things the community is missing and, you know, would like to see that isn't happening? What are things that we really like that's happening out there, you know, there's two sides to it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that if we branch off into little groups, that you're gonna miss some really good information. It's not gonna transfer on paper. What if we did more like they did, like the race series did, where we just all sat up in the school in a big circle, and that way everybody could hear every single thing, and if those guys wanted to present, or if we wanted to present, but I know if I got stuck at a table with like somebody that, you know what I'm saying, and then you're gonna miss all this other engagement, and then somebody who has a really strong voice, it's not gonna come through, cause
Right.
there's all those ideas. And then it's gonna take a lot more time to disseminate all that, and present it, whereas if we all just stood around like we did at the race series, and then we did break off into smaller groups.
Yeah, it's a matter of what can we fit into that 2 hours, so I like your idea, like I do think the public speaking, you know, part should be, hopefully we can squeeze that into the, you know, and it also like gets people thinking about things that they do wanna write down, so maybe we just, you know, presentations, public comment, small group, put stuff on paper, and then a little closing thing.
And then what we did is we came back together, and there
And
was
shared it.
a leader at each table,
Yeah.
and that person shared it, and then we kinda hashed it out from there.
I kinda like that. I like the small conversations, because then you can't manage like 100 different voices and
Yeah.
actually everybody get a say. So the small conversations and then presenting to the bigger group.
If the race series had a representative at each table, are they gonna get that kind of
I don't know
engagement?
what exactly engagement we're gonna get from the Ski Cooper Board of Directors. I'll have to circle back with you guys on what I hear from them. They've committed to getting back to me about timelines on the MVP draft submission to the US Forest Service. Other than that, I haven't gotten a lot of feedback yet. So I will do my due diligence with them and follow up and try to get some more out of those guys about what level of engagement they're comfortable or willing.
We wanna make sure that they're comfortable,
Yeah.
engaged, and welcome.
Yeah. This is,
So I hate to interrupt your dialogue, but you're kind of straying a little far afield of the topics.
Isn't it like how we're gonna manage this?
In terms of, for the communication aspect.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all, I'm just suggesting would be, because this wasn't, these individual items were on the agenda, so that's what I'm suggesting, is to.
okay, I mean, in the interest of our communications director being able to put something out about the Cooper public meeting.
Thank you, yeah.
Structure to be determined.
I like, if we do each, so we can't talk about the structure, or I thought that's what we were talking about.
Well, just for the communication, just in terms of the content.
So that we can
The
properly
issues.
advertise via communications to the community what we're doing. We're still unclear, we haven't decided yet the exact details on the meeting itself. We will get there shortly and we will let you know as soon as we hear back from Steve Cooper.
Sorry, so can I say that I like the having a bilingual option? Great, okay. So if we do it in small circles, it can also kind of be like affinity groups, so we can have a station that's just for Spanish speakers to discuss it. Or we can have a station where it's just for park rats who wanna bring their take, or sorry, is that an okay term? That's totally how I relate
We
to
aren't called
it.
park rats anymore.
What do you mean called?
No, just kidding, I'm just kidding.
Rodents.
And these will be things that we will take into account when we figure out how communications is gonna put this out.
No, this is what I'm
Um,
talking about.
And I agree.
Okay, great. So I like that idea. The live polling, I don't
Yeah.
enjoy.
We'll, and we'll make formal decisions on those coming up.
Thanks.
Alright. What
Wait,
else
wait,
do
can
you wanna
Can we
know?
pause for a second? I don't understand what just happened. I thought we were supposed to be talking about those options. Is that
Only,
not what we were supposed to be
only
talking
in the
about?
light of how communications is handled. So I think we're on the cusp of making decisions about the meeting, how the meeting's gonna be structured, how it's gonna work, and I think right now we have to stay within the bounds of how are we communicating to the community about this meeting?
And
So
when do we decide how it's actually gonna look?
at
Like
the
when
work
we
session, the next work session about Steve Cooper, is it a special meeting or it's a work session?
There's both.
Okay,
There's two.
so I think we can make decisions then on how we're actually structuring it, I just don't, I think we're to err on the side of caution, we're probably
Your
fine,
specific
but-
agenda item is with communications, so.
It's good feedback though that you wanna do it beyond the MDP though, because then we can start having the like dreaming of
Yeah.
aspect of Ski Cooper rather than specific operational changes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it'll be good for this stuff to be communicated to the board.
If we're going to offer Spanish opportunities for engagement, that is crucial for communicating what will be available at this event, right?
Perfect.
So we would have to decide if we're going to offer that. And then also if there will be opportunities for kids to engage, we need to communicate that. If there's going to be food, like, I don't understand how we communicate without actually knowing what we're doing.
We're just not ready yet to be able to tell her, because we haven't made formal decisions on the actual meeting. And I don't think we can make formal decisions about the meeting here right now.
What is wrong with my brain? Why is it so, what am I
Because it,
being
well,
hung up
because
on?
that,
Help me.
it wasn't a topic that was put on the agenda, that specific topic and stuff, so
Like
it's
making a
just about,
decision on it.
yeah, in terms of.
Yeah, we'll get
parameters,
back
so
to you
it's
about the
just
Cooper thing.
Okay, these are just
communication
ideas for you guys to
Yes.
consider for engagement.
Can you send email or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it'll be stuff for us to go over at the work session about it.
Okay, communications wise though, we are now 3 weeks out from this potential meeting that is probably not gonna happen in 3 weeks. So when do we decide what we're going to do? And based on that, then I think we should push the meeting out, because we can't give like a 1 week, we can't do 1 week comms and expect the community to have it on their schedule. So I'm sorry, I think that's where I'm like, I don't understand our order of operations for that specific communicating that event.
You're right, we're a little behind the ball on this one.
So,
I'll take some of the heat for that, cause it's hard making things happen fast.
it's okay, just somebody walk me through the timeline of how this, I get that we can't make decisions, I'm there. What are we gonna do for this Ski Cooper meeting,
We
communication,
engage, collaborate, and hear back from them hopefully today.
okay?
We go through our work session with this on the agenda so we can make the hard decisions
About what we're doing,
about what we're doing, and then we follow this topic back up with Sammy so she can communicate what we have decided
and for when,
officially
okay,
about it.
thank you so much,
Yes.
thank you. I am with us,
May the force be with
thank you so much, that was rough.
you. I know, I wanna be able to talk about everything. It's that, yeah, there's, people are watching, we gotta do all the right things. Okay,
Okay, so exciting
what
news,
else?
moving on. In May, we have secured the venue at the Southern Fire Station for a wildfire resilience event fair, calling it a fair, because there's gonna be, right now there's about 12 partners that are gonna have booths and tables with lots of different information for residents and homeowners. It'll be like a pop-in style, so there won't be like a panel, so people can engage with the experts that are gonna be there, so,
Very cool.
Could we call this like Lake County Spring Fair with a focus on wildfire? Cause if people think they can get their kids out to do something fun outside, they're gonna be like, yeah. If we call it the wild, I'm passionate about it, like I'm terrified of what's coming with
Yeah,
wildfires,
picks in the
but
fire truck, that would get my
but,
kids out.
yeah, like it's sort of like, I don't know if it, despite me thinking how exciting this is, how can we drive more excitement with the larger community, people who might not normally show up to something that has to do with wildfires? Just a thought, I'm not
no, I appreciate the feedback.
poo-pooing on anyone's parade, I just wondering, is there, a spring fair would be awesome. If we got, maybe we just drag a bouncy house down there or something to,
Oh, there's a
fill
spring,
it out.
there's a spring art show too,
The,
so we could have a fun thing.
just for this.
Yeah.
And picks in the fire truck, huge, but yeah. Just a thought, it might dilute the seriousness of the topic, I guess, but,
Well, I want it to be fun and
right,
making it is kid friendly.
yeah,
So some of the partners, or all of them, will be Claire with OEM, Leadville Lake County Fire Rescue, Pat Mercer with the Forest Service, Arkansas River Watershed Collaborative, they're offering free chipping service this summer again. Animal Shelter will be there, hopefully with some adoptable puppies, depending on their population, but we asked her to talk about preparing your pets for evacuation and then making kennel kits for your animals.
great,
CTSI said no, because they mostly help employees in counties, but they did say that underwriters are paying more attention to litigation efforts and they like to see that counties are being proactive. Friends of Lake County, Adam and Jane will be there to talk about their volunteer opportunities for people to engage in. And promote their events. Team Rubicon will be there with volunteer opportunities. The Colorado State Forest Service will be there to offer, or to register people for free home assessments and talk about creating defensible space. And they have a bunch of handouts and stuff. Public Health will be there with free N95 masks, smoke and air quality information, radon tests, and evacuation checklist information. Diana with CSU Extension will be there to talk about native plants that reduce fire risk, and then some landscaping tips, and she has some like previous stuff to up. Friends of Twin Lakes will be there to talk about their volunteer opportunities, and then Finn has, Finn will be there to cover the event and help put it in their calendar. I reached out to Hemlock Consulting, our local arborist in town that was recommended yesterday at the Forest Health Council meeting. And then I was gonna get word about insurance.
Yeah, the division of insurance we're gonna try and get done there, so they can start giving people advice about how to negotiate, how to talk if they have been dropped from their homeowner's insurance. So I'm working with trying to get somebody to do this.
That's good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to go.
It'll be very fun. So for kid stuff, we'll have some coloring stuff, maybe some butcher paper to color on and pictures of the fire truck. And then we wanna try and see if it's not too contradictory. We get pros to bring a fire pit outside for like a s'more station. Would that be
Hey,
cute?
it will be surrounded, it's like the safest place to have a fire, you know, like,
I love fire blanket demonstrations.
Oh,
If Chief Daly would be down for that, starting fires and then putting them out.
yeah,
Should we have a contest of who most appropriately and quickly?
Yes, yes.
fire extinguisher.
Maybe like campfire, some sort of like campfire.
yeah, roast your s'mores before we
Extinguishing.
use the blanket.
See how big we can get the fire.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Voice of reason, okay.
Cover your ears.
Has anyone reached out to, I know they show up in the most random, crazy places, the Fireworks Retailer Association guys, they show up at events and basically strictly talk about how to
Safety.
properly use fireworks and not be a knucklehead with them. I don't know, they seem like they were really keen on trying to attend any kind of events like that, so.
Fire, what are they?
I've got their info somewhere, I'll send it to you. It's basically it was like we were at a county, new county electeds event in the Front Range, and I'm just like looking at all these acronym tables, and then there's just like the Black Cat fireworks station down, I'm like, what are these guys doing? Like, why I walked, I'm like, why are you here? And then he gave me a bunch of actually really good information, so I'd be, I'll figure out exactly who that was, but it was like the Colorado Fireworks Retailers Association or something like that. Anyway, just a thought. Their booth looked super fun. They had free with confetti poppers. Yeah.
Cool. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Sorry, Sammy, where is this?
Where's the
Southern
event?
Fire Station?
No, where is the document you were
Oh.
just using?
It's in the communications folder in your packet.
So under the media, so thank you for sharing that media folder
Yeah.
in Teams with us yesterday. Should we? Does that also exist in the media folder? I did not see it.
Oh, the
The
fire.
fair, yeah.
You put it in there.
Just,
Those are just my notes for who's coming and who's saying what.
okay.
I can send all the stuff from today to you guys.
That's okay, if it's in the packet, that's awesome, it just, there was nothing in there yesterday, so I didn't know if I should have been looking in the media materials for this information.
So, question on that, do you guys want like PowerPoints and stuff in there too, like the PowerPoint for the state of the community?
Yeah,
Do you want stuff like that in there too?
I don't know why, I don't know.
It's just a resource for you guys to be able to access, all media information
Yeah, that sounds awesome,
easily.
Mm-hmm.
that sounds great,
Yeah, the more we can have,
Sure.
the better.
thank you.
Alright,
Thank you.
sweet.
You can hand these out too.
Alright, thank you, Sammy. Next on the agenda item number 3, discussion and consideration for the adoption of resolution 2025-14. A resolution setting regular meetings for the Board of County Commissioners and public postings. This will be led by Office of Emergency Management Director Claire Hathaway.
Hi
Hey
everyone.
Claire.
Hi. So last summer when we had interlocking, this is something we had kind of discussed for a while. How do we balance open meeting laws, public posting, and sometimes we have massive wildfires that don't respect 24 hours notice, right? So we did some research into this. We pulled from other counties such as Town of Maryland, Berthoud, San Miguel, Town of Erie, and then Mason County as well to see how they handle emergency meetings. So kind of pulling through that, consulting with legal, we have in front of you this resolution today to be able to call an emergency meeting. The key words that we're looking at are necessary to preserve health, welfare, and safety of the people of Lake County of Colorado. So when we have something like a wildfire or something else that's imminent, it gives the board the ability to call a meeting within that 24 hours, allows you guys to make decisions, and then ratify all of it at the next publicly posted meeting. While we always wanna give 24 hours where we can, even in case of emergency, we also wanna make sure that we can give you guys information, in an efficient, effective, and time-sensitive manner. So this allows my office, allows our other first responders to come in front of you, give you guys an overview of the situation, make any asks for resources such as disaster declaration, and just kind of move the ball a little bit quicker, in a legal way that complies with sunshine meeting laws. So that's really all I have. Interlocking, what we ended up doing was a special briefing, so we didn't have a meeting, there was no formal action taken. Even with that, I think it was maybe like a 19 or 18 hour posting, we still had really good turnout from the community, we had stakeholder representation. So people want information, especially in times of crisis, and this kind of allows us to do this in a more efficient manner. So that's kind of the quick overview I have. I'm happy to answer any questions.
So even in the event of an emergency, we'll be calling them regular meetings. Isn't there like another verbiage that would be like emergency regular meeting or?
Well, and that's what I was gonna say, yeah, typically it is, because the resolution your initial resolution establishes your regular meetings. So I was this would be for emergency special meetings
Yes.
instead.
Okay, so.
So I think what this does is kind of combine your regular posting meeting and then kind of adds in that clause saying, when we
Yes.
have an emergency meeting, this is how it happens.
Yes, exactly.
So it's combining the regular and the emergency.
Okay, so that's why it's worded a resolution setting regular meetings for the Board of County Commissioners and public postings, instead of it saying a board for
Emergency.
setting emergency regular meetings.
So it'd just be emergency meetings,
Okay.
special meetings kind of stuff.
Okay. Okay, cool, so. Got it. I'm all for that.
I move to adopt resolution 2025-14, a resolution setting regular meetings for the Board of County Commissioners and public postings.
I'll second the motion.
Do we have to amend that if we wanna change how it's worded a little bit? Instead of regular, just have it say emergency meetings?
This
It
is, but this
says
is
it in
the resolution, you're just amending the resolution, and the original resolution is for the regular meetings and public postings, right?
Okay,
We're amending the resolution that we've already passed.
Right,
That has this as the title,
yes,
Oh.
and
Okay.
the body of the
Okay.
resolution adopts the
thank you
emergency.
on that.
Yeah.
So with
Okay.
the emergency meeting line is kind of like an asterisk, right? So the
Yeah.
rest of the resolution is saying like, hey, this is when we have our regular meetings, this is how they get posted, and then a little asterisk saying like, if we have an emergency, this is the protocol.
right, like the emergency meetings fall under the umbrella of this
Yes.
description. Perfect, okay, thank you for clarifying that for me, we're getting into the
So my
nitty gritty
brain-
of, yeah.
Is working in this one moment, so.
Okay, alright, cool, then to a vote?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye. Alright, that is number 3, now we're on number 4, agenda item, discussion and consideration of a grant awarded to Office of Emergency Management for a Starlink and 12 months for Starlink satellite setup, the hardware I'm guessing, and 12 months of Starlink roam service from the Department of Homeland Security. This is led by Office of Emergency Management Director Claire Hathaway. Hi, Claire.
Thank you all again. So this grant's a little bit of an interesting one, so I kind of want to start from the beginning and kind of walk all the way through it. So any questions, please interrupt me. So the Homeland Security Grant is a federal grant. It's passed through to the state, and then the state passes it through to different regions in Colorado. So we are part of the South Central All Hazard Region. That's comprised of us, Chaffee County, Teller Park, El Paso County, and the city of Colorado Springs. And the city of Colorado Springs acts as our fiscal agent for the grant. This grant is managed by an executive board that is all the EMs of that region, so including myself. And we solicit projects related to Homeland Security. The grant itself has 6 priority areas that include cybersecurity, community preparedness and resilience, election security, combating domestic violent extremism, intelligence and information sharing, and protection of soft targets in crowded places. So every project that comes to this grant falls under one of those priority areas. We solicit projects from all the public safety agencies of the regions. We have Lake County Sheriff receive items from this grant, our fire department get items from this grant, OEM. And then we also have 3 regional working groups within this region as well. That includes a hazmat working group, an explosives and tactical working group, and a communications working group. And then the grant also funds 2 employees. They're employees through the city of Colorado Springs. It's a grant manager and then a fiscal agent. Kind of due to this nature of the grant, there really aren't any funds usually expended with this grant. We more get items. It's almost like an Amazon delivery through this grant. And then we use City of Colorado Springs procurement and purchasing to do all of that. So those employees that I mentioned, they work with the city procurement. Any item that's purchased under this grant goes through them, and then they're delivered to the regions, whoever requested the project. So that's kind of an overview of the grant. Any questions there? It's a little bit different, I know. So in 2024, the communications working group came together, and that communications working group is mainly dispatchers of all the different regions. They kind of came together and they were like, we're all really struggling with cell coverage, especially in our rural communities. Through that explosives and tactical working group, they had gotten through the grant bounce cameras through a previous year. Really great device. They are exactly what they sound like. They're just cameras in the shape of a circle. They don't bounce, unfortunately. We all tried, it did not work. But you can roll them into an area like a bowling ball, and it kind of provides a 360 view. They can talk through the cameras. However, it was it's a really great tool. So if there's someone in the house or they need to kind of clear a building, they can roll the camera into the house or like throw it through a window. And there's cameras on it, there's microphones, they have like a tablet. It was a really great capability to have. However, we learned that these cameras don't work if there's no cell phone service. So Park County, rural areas of Teller County, Chaffee County, we haven't used them up in Lake yet. I hope we never have to, but if there's no cell phone service, the cameras didn't work. So the communications working group came together and said, well, why don't we do a project request for Starlinks? So every county in the region gets a Starlink. In addition to that, we'll do up to 12 months of the unlimited roam service. So we can turn that service on and off. We can have it on for 1 month at a time. We can activate it for an incident, however we want to manage that.
How long would that period, like if we only used a couple weeks here, a couple weeks there, did they set like a cap on how long you have to use your 12 months of roam time?
So once we turn it on, we're charged for the month.
Okay.
So it's by the month, so if we turn it on, April 1st,
10
we'll
minutes.
have that, yeah. But the nice thing is that we can use it in May, say, for testing, turn it off for June, July. We have an incident in August where the fiber goes down, we can turn it back on and then we have it for August. And the grant will reimburse up to 12 months of that through May 2027. So we have through May 2027 to use 12 months of service.
May 27, right?
So that was the project the communications working group proposed, was a Starlink for each region. The board approved that project. We went through procurement, it took a little bit of time, and we got the Starlink earlier in March. So we have the Starlink physically. As I mentioned, we can turn it on and off. So really what our next steps would be is that I've been working with Liz and Justin to kind of talk about how we set up the Starlink, making sure that it's compatible with our different areas. So get it set up to using dispatch. During the marathon in 2023, we lost all of our dispatch. We had to transfer a lot to Chafee, like our 911 calls to Chafee because they didn't have internet. And we couldn't get the race series offered us their Starlink, but we couldn't get it to work through the firewall. So making sure we can get set up with that, making sure the Starlink works as we want it to, whether it's providing internet to an incident command post or as a backup to a building that has internet go out, do some testing on it, turn it off, and then when the incident occurs, we can get it turned on within about 10 minutes, is what we've been told. Again, that'll be part of the testing as well, making sure it is actually 10 minutes like they promised.
So our testing has to count for one of the 12 in 2 years. But I get it.
Ongoing costs, do we know once we've used our May 2027 deadline, what does, for us, what will 12 months of Starlink Roam run for us?
I believe it's in the memo, I wanna say it's $165 a month. Let me double check that. Sorry, my computer.
But that's covered under the grant,
Well, not after May
Not after that, so
not after,
27.
sure, but it also said that we could reapply for the grant. Not we, cause we're not even the fiscal sponsors of this, right?
we could reapply for more service through the grant as a project, I don't expect it to be accepted by the board. So yes, it is $165 a month, that is something that will be included in OEM's budget, moving forward, probably starting in 2026.
2,000 a year.
Yeah, just to at least have as backup. I feel comfortable OEM can absorb that cost, it will require a little bit of moving around, but if we do turn it on for an incident, then it could fall under an incident cost as well.
Yeah, cool.
And do you know if Starlink service after May 27, when we subscribe, if we end up subscribing to this, will it be the same kind of setup where we have like 2 years, say, to use those 12 months? Or is it gonna be an every year thing? Well, will be 2,000 a year or 1,000 bucks a year, I guess is kind of the.
So I apologize, I didn't make that clear. So for the grant closeout is May 2027 for the May 2024 grant, or I'm sorry, for the 2024 Homeland Security grant. So we have until May 2027 to expend all the funds on the May 2024, so that's where the 2027 number comes from, I'm sorry, I didn't make
That's fine. We don't know how long the deadline is to use those 12 months of Starlink Roam. Or is that a 12-month plan and that's it, like there's no, you said we only get charged, if we use it for 10 minutes, they take a month of that 12. So I guess what my question was does that mean we have a longer period than 12 months to use those 12 months or?
It's 2 years, 2 years.
Yes, so we have until May 2027 when the Homeland Security grant goes for closeout to apply for reimbursement. So the grant timeline is through May 2027. So how it'll work is that once we use one of our months, we'll pay for it upfront, we'll apply to the city of Colorado Springs for reimbursement, and that email is in your packet as well, and they'll reimburse us that month. We have until May 2027 to close out that grant and expend those funds. So we have to apply for all that reimbursement up until May 2027.
I think my questions were more of like the user agreement with Starlink itself, and nothing to do with the grant itself, but how is it structured for us to budget moving forward? In the event this thing works great, we wanna keep it, we're looking at, hey, let's keep re-upping this service, I guess was kind of, what does this look like down the road? What's it cost? What kind of dent is it gonna put in your budget, or, we gotta allocate extra for that?
Like, can you do month by month, or does it have
Yes.
to be a contract, what's a year contract?
Yeah, so we can do month by month, so it would just be the same thing we have now, we turn it on and then we turn it off. So we turn it on when we need it and turn it off, and it would be that month by month basis.
That's a good question, Amy.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be the only thing I'd have questions about, and moving forward is how is that user agreement structured? Other than that, I'm all for this, like 1,000%, cause
Yeah,
this
so
is,
that's
and
what,
if it works great, then we can look at, how do the nuts and bolts of this agreement with Starlink actually look for us moving forward? But other than that, like, as it stands right now, it's, it's a grant, it's funded, let's try it, we won't even know how good it works if we don't try it, so.
yeah, so that's what legal reviewed, was the terms and conditions. I didn't see any negative feedback from what they reviewed, but yeah, it would just stay that month by month So that's what we would budget for every year, is up to 12 months, maybe probably less, maybe 10, of service. It would just be a month by month, we turn it on, we turn it off, and that's what it would look like for us.
I move to receive the grant?
Approved?
We already approved, well, it's already been awarded. How do
Oh.
we receive?
Move forward?
Accept?
I think what
I
I'm
accept.
looking for today is really permission to accept the terms and conditions of Starlink and to apply for the reimbursement of the roam service.
Okay.
So I move to accept the grant awarded to OEM for Starlink and 12 months of Starlink roam service from the Department of Homeland Security.
A second.
To a vote?
Aye.
Aye. Alright,
Thank you, Claire.
Cool, thank you
thank
all.
you, Claire.
Claire,
Sorry
so
for all the.
just real quick, what is the name of that camera? I wanna look it up.
We just
The
call them
bouncing
the
camera?
bounce cameras, I can get the technical name for you, I think they actually, but I can find it, what the actual model is, we
Thank
just always call them the bounce
Totally
cameras.
sounds
I
like a
wouldn't-
SWAT team tool.
Yeah, I wanna nerd out a little bit on that.
Yeah, we always tell the tactical team when they ask for things, we just want permission to play with whatever they buy them.
Yeah.
They also have like hot knives, which are exactly what they sound like, it's like a hot knife to like cut through things,
Mm-hmm.
so they
Cool.
get a lot.
They got a lightsaber?
Yeah, that's pretty much like what it is, yeah, so if you like bring like a slice of bread and you can toast it. They also do get bomb dogs, so the bomb dogs that come up for the race series every year are with Colorado Springs Bomb Squad, and those dogs are grant funded as well.
You know, there's a Starlink phone coming to a store near you.
Like a cell phone?
Yeah. Operated off Starlink, it'd never be out of service.
Interesting.
That sounds atrocious.
It has a hotspot.
cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I
You
imagine,
get satellite phones.
imagine all the other phone providers will have to start paying, you can't compete with full bars
We'll
everywhere.
never lose, yeah.
Anyway, thanks, Claire.
Well, thank you all, have a good day.
Thanks, Claire. Alrighty, agenda item number 5. Discussion and consideration of a memorandum of understanding, MOU, between Lake County and Full Circle of Lake County for vehicle ownership, maintenance, and insurance. This will be led by interim county manager Lauren Snyder.
Yeah, so the county entered into an MOU with Full Circle back in 2016 to not only hold the titles of their 4 vans, but also to pay for insurance coverage as well as kind of upkeep maintenance of those vans. And when we went back and started to look at how much that had been costing us since 2022, the county incurred over $25,000 related to this MOU. We pay just under $600 a year for, to have them on our insurance, totaling over $2,200 annually. And so I engaged, Eudalia Contreras from, Full Circle about how to renegotiate that MOU. This back and forth between the county and Full Circle has been years of back and forth. So when I used to be on the board of Full Circle, it was an issue. And so I'm really excited that we have a path forward with Full Circle finally. And so the goal of the new MOU is really to find a path forward to eventually disengage the county from their vans altogether, but to do it in a sustainable way, not just overnight say, hey, Full Circle, take on all of these costs when you've been operating for almost, 10 years, having this support, this financial support. So the MOU is for 2 years with the understanding after those 2 years, really the county's gonna be done with an MOU with them. So we are gonna turn over the titles of all of the vans to Full Circle without any reimbursement. However, the responsibility for the insurance for the vans will also move over to Full Circle. And then over the next few years, Lake County will continue to provide preventable maintenance on the vans, but cost of those repairs, basically everything but labor, will be covered by Full Circle. If there's something that we can't do in-house and we have to send it outside, that will be, those costs will be borne by Full Circle. But anything small, tire rotations, oil changes, etc., we'll still be supporting them with. And then after 2 years, so May 1st, 2027, we'll move forward and Circle will take full control over those vans. So it was a good win-win change between us and Full Circle.
Looks great,
So we're just phasing out.
looks really good.
I will make a motion to approve the MOU between Lake County and Lake County, or MOU between Lake County and Full Circle of Lake County Incorporated for vehicle ownership, maintenance, and insurance.
Seconded.
Okay, before I take that to a vote, I have a couple more questions. Who purchased the vans initially?
It's been a mixture, I think the original MOU actually was with like 3 vans and then they got a grant, I wanna say, and added another, and we just incorporated that. It was
Okay.
before my time, so I don't know the full history of who it was, but we own all the types.
I just wanna make sure that I was clear on it, and that it wasn't like the county bought 3 vans and now we're giving them away in exchange for not having to worry about them. And so, but if it was a grant funded van purchase,
It's
Then-
cool, I know at least that was part of it, but also I'm trying to remember how old these vans are.
that's,
It
was the
was-
next question, was like what year, how many
One of them-
miles?
They're looking to get rid of immediately because it's in pretty rough shape. There's
Okay.
one that's pretty new, that's the one I think they got through a grant. The other 2, and these are vans that they use pretty much every day to move kids around the county.
Yeah, they're
to
the
do
40
everything.
tonneau lines that are driving around town all the time. I just wanna make sure they're not, the shape of the headlights is really what it all boils down to. If they're new ones, then it's like, oh, like, well, okay, like, then these things could be worth close to 6 figures, you know, but
They are
if
not
they're not,
Mercedes
if they're not this
vans.
trapezoid headlight ones and they're old, and I want these guys to have their own vans, is the bottom line, you know, I just wanna make sure we're doing it in the right way.
It would
So-
probably cost us more to take them and
Yeah.
sell them at auction and stuff than they're worth.
Fair enough, okay, cool.
That's
Give them the
why
vans.
we have so high maintenance costs. We are trying to solution,
Okay, do a vote?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on. A discussion and consideration of a memorandum of understanding, MOU, between Lake County and Lake County Tourism Panel, Lake County Build a Generation, and Lake County Community Fund to allocate a percentage of the tourism panel's net revenue to the Lake County Early Care and Education, ECE, Fund. This will be led by Tourism and Economic Development Director Adam Ducharme. Hello, Adam.
As we discussed this last time, since we met, Chris and Katie and representatives from Build a Generation, as well as John Murtry from the Community Fund, were able to get together and sort of work through the terms. And then in terms of anything, specific on the language or things that you had to work through, Chris, do you have anything that you wanna say?
No, the community fund is just so easy to work with and stuff, so we revised it per Adam's description of what we were trying to achieve with this, the parameters and such like that, and so to them, and they immediately signed off and stuff, so it is our version of the agreement, and it covers all the necessary parameters for that.
That's great. Yeah, so what we're looking at then moving forward is starting this year, at the end of this year, we will be allocating 5% of the tourism panel's actualized revenue. And so that will, obviously we will not have sort of the ability to capture what that full picture is until January of 2026, but at that time, we'll be able to make a pretty darn good, even, we have some late payments and things that come in afterwards, but we'll be able to have a very fair assessment of what that 5% of the actualized revenue looks like, and we will be able to award that to the Early Child Care Fund. And for those of you that are not aware, that funding is fairly critical for programs like Bright Start, for example. And small amounts of money go a very long way for programs like that.
Mhm.
Both of my children are in that program, and in speaking with Desiree, the amount of money that they need to make an appreciable difference in terms of how many kids they can serve and the health of that program, $5,000 makes a huge difference. $8,000 makes a massive difference in their ability to serve our kids. And so feel really grateful to be in a position for Lake County government and by extension the tourism panel to be able to make an appreciable difference on such a critical issue for our community. Open any questions on that?
I have no questions. You surprised? I fully support this. No holdups.
I move to approve the MOU between Lake County Tourism Panel, Lake County Build a Generation, and Lake County Community Fund to allocate a percentage of the tourism panel's net revenue to the Lake County Early Child Care and Education Fund.
I will second that motion.
To a vote?
Aye.
Aye. Right.
Thanks, Adam.
Okay, let's resume the regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners here. We are back with Adam again. We are number 7, discussion and consideration of an amendment to the professional services agreement, PSA, with Mead and Hunt for the Leadville Lake County Phase 3 off airport planning support services. That's a mouthful. This is led by Adam instead of Josh. Okay.
Yep.
Off airport. Okay. I just saw the word airport and I was like,
So but I did bring my muscle. So if you guys go sideways, I got them. But so as many of you know, right, we have a lot of planning going on around the airport. And with that, we've been talking, and CPD and TED and the airport have been collaborating quite a bit on conversations about the off-airport industrial park. So in your packets, you will see we entered into conversations based on the professional service agreement that Mead and Hunt had provided to the airport around the phases of their project, and phase 3 of what they had recommended or suggested was a off-airport planning support. And so CPD and TED met with Mead and Hunt for a few meetings to discuss what that set of services could look like to help us in our longer term efforts around getting the airport industrial park, bringing the airport industrial park to life. So we've identified a really well-serving study area, which is obviously right off the airport, outside of the FAA boundary, which is critical for us and in terms of viability of this planning. And then we spoke with Mead and Hunt, and they gave us a few iterations of this proposal to be able to best serve what our needs are. So I'll just describe it in broad brushes. What they'll be providing to us is 2 conceptual layouts of what the airport industrial park could look like. And the first layout will actually have sort of what we might call, based on their market research, the most appropriate size parcels. So a healthy mix of what we might call smaller 5-acre parcels, 10-acre parcels, 15, 20s, things like that. And they're going to be providing that for us based on market research that they do. So they're going to be doing benchmarking with 7 surrounding communities. And when I say surrounding communities, I don't mean they're going to look at Chaffee and Eagle. They're going to find appropriate appropriate communities that have the same sort of goals and have the same population density and et cetera, to be able to provide benchmarking around what has been the most successful examples of airport industrial parks. And then with that market research, they will actually be able to provide us with information around, in 2025, these are the types of businesses that are conglomerating in these airport industrial parks and having the best success. And this will really empower us as we move forward to be able to have a much stronger RFP once we get to the sort of like engineering, groundwork, entitlement work that we need to do within CBD and TED to be able to get this project to a shovel-worthy or shovel-ready phase.
Right.
And so by doing this step first, it really empowers us to be able to leverage the resources we do have to be able to go out for an accurate RFP and not waste any funds and not blow up a budget that we don't have when it comes to being able to get this project through entitlement. Because in the research that Melissa and Ann and I have done, it'd be very easy if we were to just say, okay, we're gonna put out an one RFP to get us through entitlement. You could easily spend $1 million on that. So we're trying to basically phase this out into chunks so that we can work within the budget we have allocated, but also be able to provide the most information with a use of sweat equity and expertise and us calling on trained professionals that we trust and them giving us the feedback around no, do this before that and then you'll have much better success with the next step. So as you'll see in the proposal, they're going to offer us this market research, the benchmarking, as well as the conceptual drawings, and the price tag is $19,506. So it's a really reasonable rate for what we're asking, and I mean our shared experience in working with Mead and Hunt is they're great. They really understand what we're looking for. They've been really responsive to our feedback from the proposal. Kevin Smith on their team has a ton of experience doing this kind of work specifically. And so between Lauren and Kevin, it's been wonderful to get to this stage. Anything else?
It'll be exciting to get this information started.
This is a budgeted request?
Yes.
Whose budget, what budget? Yours? Okay. Terrific, I'll make a motion to approve an amendment to the professional services agreement with Mead and Hunt for Leadville Lake County Phase 3 off-airport planning support services.
Seconded.
To a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I just say, I know this has been in the community for a long time, I know the commissioners have been talking about this for a long time, I know the EDC has been wanting it, like many leaders in the community have been wanting it, and I really appreciate both of you. I think that if you two were not in the positions that you're in right now, we still would not be here, so I just wanna say thank you so much for working together to drive this forward, thank you for making it happen.
It's exciting,
This is a power triplet right here. I feel really good about us being able to actually move the ball on the airport area.
Yes, I think the airport is an integral part of Lake County's future on multiple levels. In some views, it is the future.
Yeah, and
progress.
one thing I just want to call out, as a high five is just that I really appreciate Melissa's approach to this process because Melissa has, from the start, she is the amazing, I'm the horse that needs somebody on the reins. And she has been really good at making sure that I'm running a straight line in terms of being like, well, before we do this, and potentially get ourselves in a situation where we need to spend more money than we think we are ready to spend, let's consider this, and it's based on both of us kind of contacting our resources and understanding the most appropriate way to get through this part of the process, so.
Yeah,
That's been great,
we've seen,
Thank you,
we've
Melissa.
seen what happens when the county gets excited about something and charges ahead without thinking it through.
100%, that's
We don't
exactly.
need any more truckloads
The
of
car
gravel.
ends up in front real quick. That's right, and that's the key to this, is we cannot afford to do that, cause this is a generational opportunity at the UBC.
Absolutely.
I'm feeling really grateful for our staff right now, so thank you. Thank you, all three of you.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing the, what they come up with.
Glad this was
Yeah.
better for you than I tried to do it in 23.
I'm sorry.
My new recording of that was pretty brutal.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, Josh, thank you.
Newborn.
Yeah,
Thanks for sticking with it.
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks for trying again.
that's what she said.
Never give up on the airport.
No. Cool, alright, well, we're good with that. Agenda item number 8. Discussion and consideration of a request for proposal for hangar development at the Lake County Airport. This is led by Airport Director Josh Adamson and Tourism and Economic Director, Development Director Adam Ducharme.
So, much awaited, this is our request for proposal for hangar development. This being ground lease hangar development, so this is going to be private entities, it could be a company, it could be just a Leadville citizen that puts in a proposal to build a leased ground hangar at the airport. I think you guys should have the draft in your packet there.
Yeah.
I would say I wrote it, but I stole it from Fort Collins Airport because why reinvent the wheel? But
Yeah.
yes, I sent it to them,
Yeah.
yeah. But I'm sure you appreciate it because then it was already reviewed by legal once. So hopefully. But I would say in there right now, we were looking, we just kind of included the date as if it would get approved today for a 30-day time frame that it would be out for people to submit proposals. And then we would, I can't remember exactly what it said in there, what that, is May 18th?
May 16th.
May 16th would be the close date on that, and then we would have a meeting to select from the bids that we received. Right now we have, there's in the parcel you can see on the map there, there's roughly, we don't have a set size for the hangars. We're gonna get the bids and likely we'll end up building 3 or 4 parcels out because of the sizes that we select. This gives our proposals the flexibility to pick what size of hangar they want, and we can maximize space in that area then effectively, because that becomes a big issue. Right now, we're at the beginning of us, we have one ground lease hangar. Airports like us have started this in the past, and then they find out quickly that they didn't know what they were doing. And then they get, like we were just talking about, all of a sudden like, oh crap, I wish we could redo how we laid that out. Because this is a 30-year lease with a 10-year extension that you can't fix relatively until that time is up. So we did the planning with Mead and Hunt to make sure that this layout looked good for us. It would make sense for the future development of the airport, and that we want to maximize our space and our opportunity to use kind of what we call the park place of like airport property right now, because it's really close to all the services. All of the parcels in the future are negotiable on price because they move away from services. So or they're behind, or they actually have like a retail, real estate value of where they're located. So right now, this current spot is a nice area, it's up front, it's gonna be visible. So I think we have a good opportunity to get some good proposals and get some hangars going. Maybe this summer, but we'll see. We're a little behind the ball right now. So, any questions so far?
I have a question, are you gonna require them to take care of sewer, and we don't have sewer line up there? What if one hangar, I mean, what if there's a commercial, septic system, and then the 4, the 5 could all get together and use that temporarily until we get the sewer going up there.
I'm all for options on that end because I know it is a bit of a hindrance kind of on our side, the infrastructure piece. Another proposal I had, and I did vet this, that has been approved before at other airports, was collection tanks. So it's not a septic field, they're easier to put in, and hangars there's not guys in and out going to the bathroom, so they don't fill up very fast. So that was another option that we had looked into because one of the perspective, hopefully we get a bit from, is Tom Charles, and he mentioned that he had those at his cutting edge shop up on 91, that he had collection tanks, and that was how he did up there. And I thought it's a lot easier to do because you don't have to have the leach field. The soil up there actually percolates too fast, so it sometimes is hard to get that it doesn't drain too fast, which is comical almost. And also the rules for septic are very much tailored for like residential type septic, and this is a totally different scenario that we don't have a set of rules written for. I've already talked to CPD about maybe that's something we need to look into in the future.
Yeah, good point.
Because, like I said, hangars, bathrooms don't get used all that much.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Even ours at the airport, I mean, we don't have showers, we don't have washing machines, dishwashers. Those are the big contributors to septics. Where a toilet is really very minimal. We might get 20 gallons a day of flushed toilets. Like that might be a high end. So, but the community septic was also a consideration, that something that if we wanted to pay for and put in, we could do. That we would put it in line with the future sewer line. So that way when we do, do get to that point where we can put in that infrastructure, we just simply deactivate the septic, extend that sewer line 30 feet or whatever, and then it's going straight to the sanitation. So.
How old's your septic system?
How old or how is it?
Is it still functioning?
Yes, it was put in, I think when they built the SRE, which is the office building, so that was built in 2012, I believe is when that went in. We haven't had any issues with it. I plan to get it inspected and pumped this summer, because we haven't done it since I've been there. And I feel like it's a good thing just to keep your eye on before it gets out in front of you.
Yeah.
Do people ever, are there bathrooms on board some of these bigger planes that need dumping?
Yes, so that's another piece with the not having, like, with a collection tank, we could, we'd have to get this approved that sanitation would be able to take aircraft waste.
Yeah.
We call it blue juice.
Blue juice?
Yeah, it's because
it
looks like porta potty stuff.
Because it's got
Yeah, it's got some antifreeze and other chemicals in it and stuff. So we'd have to check to see if sanitation would be able to treat that. I think they would, because they can take the porta potties.
Yeah.
So, but having a collection point on site would allow us to service those. Personally, I would love to not have that service, because it's not fun.
Right.
But it is another way to make revenue, and we could increase jet traffic because we do have laboratory service.
Yeah.
I would say it's a more minimal way to increase jet service. It's not something they like to look for when they stop a place, unless they are like full. But it is on my list of like how to get jet traffic.
Well, we're moving forward with a sewer line, so it should be temporary, not putting too much money into the system.
I guess once we weigh timelines and be able to determine whether a containment setup is
cheap and temporary, so that it can hook up.
That was my other suggestion too, is that if we maybe do some provisional approval of a bathroom at some point, so it's allowed to be built and plumbed, but not hooked up but they build in the infrastructure to stub into future infrastructure.
Yeah.
That way, when we do get it, then they can hook up their bathrooms.
Yeah.
And they're ready to go. I will say where they're at right now, if they had to walk to our facility, which is how a lot of airports operate. A lot of hangars do not have restrooms.
right.
that wouldn't be out of the world, like crazy thing to suggest, especially if we do offer in the future that they can't hook up.
Would be a deal breaker for 90% of the potential clients.
No, I think most of them would find that they would still rather have their own hangar,
Yeah,
and not have a bathroom, like, I mean, like, you put a porta potty outside,
yeah.
like
So-
temporarily as well, I mean, that's, you could go that simple.
So we're gonna let someone build the hangar, we'll still own the land the hangar's on and lease that to the builder.
Correct. So we'll own the land, in perpetuity, we can't, the FAA does not let us liquidate that land. We can, it's like almost impossible, especially being like right there on the runway or the taxiway.
Yeah,
But no, and then that land will be leased for 30 years initially, and then we have a 10-year extension. It can go beyond that as well, it's up to the purview of, I mean, I don't think any of you will be sitting here at that point in time. I probably won't be here, but, you can't extend beyond that.
overall.
Yeah, so, but that, yeah, not, I
I
mean,
know,
not in these roles.
I'm kidding.
I hope so, but it's a great way, cause then the airport maintains the land and we still always have that asset if they do default or
Yeah.
have something. Also, any improvement built on that land, per the lease agreement will revert to the county at the end of the lease. So we will own that hangar structure at the end of the term. So it behooves them and us to keep track of our assets on the airport, because we're gonna get that building at some point. So we wanna make sure that they are doing their maintenance, which is in their lease, to upkeep their building and stuff, so that we get a good asset at the end of it all. And it's in their lease, cause we can terminate leases based on them defaulting in those terms, so. They're not allowed to store non-aeronautical stuff in there. That's always a big issue at airports, is you go to, they do hangar inspections and there's boats and RVs and everything that is not a plane. Where I've always had the opinion that if they have a plane in there and they have like a boat in there, I might just do that, because at least they're still operating an aircraft. So that's always been.
Full of European sports cars.
Yes. I mean, I've worked at enough airports in my life where I went to work on a guy's jet in his own private hangar, and he had a jet in there, but it was also, he had like 2 Vipers, a wakeboarding boat, like 17 motorcycles, and like, many of them look like that without an airplane.
Yeah.
So.
Are you allowed to store something, like where would you put a vehicle, like say you drop your jet off, but then you
You
want
are
to be able to have
allowed
your
to
vehicle.
keep that in the hangar. That's
Right, so
always been
that-
kind of, I don't know if it's specifically written, but that's always been kind of like if you're out flying your vehicle and you park
Yeah,
your aircraft, or you
Your
want,
daily
it's
driver.
snowing, you park it inside your hangar, that's okay.
okay, just
So-
curious.
That's pretty common practice.
Yeah, we also do offer long-term storage at the airport. We have about 7 cars that pay us $450 a year to keep them at the airport. Cause they fly in on occasion and they use them like once a year,
Got it.
so.
Wow.
This could all be solved if we could just get our flying cars.
Matt,
Then
you're
then
on
all of our
it.
airport dreams kinda go up in smoke, don't they?
Sort of.
Yeah.
It's still one somewhere for them to land.
Yeah.
Unless they're all automated, then.
Pretty much. I don't even have a steering wheel.
Starlink.
Alright, squirrel,
Come on, guys.
alright.
This is what we do, this is
Yeah,
how we keep it interesting, team,
okay,
sorry.
motion for agenda item
Yeah,
eight.
yeah, sorry, is it my turn or your
I
turn?
think it's
to-
your turn.
I'll move to approve the request, the RFP for hangar development at the Leadville Lake County Airport.
I will second the motion.
To a vote?
Aye.
Aye,
Thanks, team.
thanks guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Adam.
This is great.
Yeah.
There'll be
Free
some
for
people
free,
in our
man.
county.
Feeling good, I'm gonna go work some more.
You could stick around and keep us on track.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I'm really excited
I
about
would
the
love
airport
that job
prospects.
with y'all.
I have a testing over there, they're gonna test
No, you would,
parachutes.
you would not like
For the
me.
next
Get outta
few days
here.
before they go to
Exactly.
Nepal,
Yeah,
to go drop from even higher.
Sounds like
Wow.
Melissa's the best at that anyway.
let me know if they have any openings, I'll go try out.
They're gonna jump out of helicopters, so you should.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Testing
Is that
parachutes, who
when?
gets, what's the pay rate for that?
They said they get paid pretty well. The guy that's running it he has his own Gulfstream G650, so.
Is that-
That's too big to land at our airport, so.
Who gets to say I test parachutes for for like their job.
Well, it's always like,
Not
they're all,
very
they're all
old
prior
people.
military. Well, that guy that owns it, he's gonna jump a bunch, and he's 73,
What?
yeah.
So he
I
must be
beg
good
to
at his
differ.
job.
One of the guys yesterday, he was a parajumper, which is the Air
Yeah,
Force Spec
same.
Ops. And he has over, what he said, 1,500 hours of free fall time. So the time between leaving the plane and opening his chute, he has 1,500 hours of jumps.
Listen to a lot of wind and
I was like, that's a lot of jumps. He's like, yeah, it's like thousands and thousands and
Yeah.
thousands of jumps, cause every jump's about a minute.
15,000.
Hey Josh, are you gonna contact Tom?
Yes, so I have the list of like the guys who've been,
Okay.
I'm just gonna send it to them directly. And then we'll put it out through the normal RFP channels,
Cool.
out on the internet as well.
Awesome.
There's one piece too, I think we did add in there is that the scoring will, have some extra scoring for local
Awesome.
entities, and it comes down to you guys picking,
Yes.
you're the ones that final say, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Josh.
Appreciate
Yeah,
your
Josh,
time.
thank you.
I'm gonna get out of this hot room now.
We're having too much fun, so let's
Lucky.
move on. Agenda item number 9, discussion and consideration for a request for proposal or an RFP for an architect of record for the courthouse renovation project. This is led by interim county manager Lauren Snyder. Go ahead, Lauren.
So, the Lake County's currently contracted with DPM. Colleen Pineda, she was here last week. Dynamic Program Management is our owner's rep for the courthouse renovation, as well as Jim McLaren from McLaren Wilson and Lowry. Jim is really going to be doing kind of programming conceptual drawings for us for the courthouse renovation project, but he's not going to be the architect of record. So our next step in moving this project along is publishing an RFP to select that architect of record. This individual, this firm, will be basically bringing us from conceptual drawings all the way to construction documents. And so part of their work is really also gonna be working with the courts, the DA's office, with you all on upgrades to our add-ons or add alternates. So Jim McLaren has a lot of expertise on law enforcement and jails. So we really wanted to have his design so that we don't overbuild, don't underbuild, we get what we actually want. And then he'll be working on the architect of record will be working on the add alternates. So even if you don't need them right now, we will really have architectural plans for renovation of basically the entire building. So if we wanted to do it in phases, we could. The timeline on the RFP is, right, we hope to release it tomorrow. We all are gonna use more than just our local county RFP website. We're going to be using BidNet, which is a free service that both Colleen and Jim recommended we use to try and get a broader array of individuals or firms that are interested in doing the architect of record. They think that we might be able to get some really great bids beyond kind of our normal area that we release our RFPs to. So hopefully dropping that tomorrow. Any interested applicants will be able to come by and do a site visit if they wish on the 24th of April. Any clarification questions, that deadline is gonna be on the 28th. And then the RFP will close on May 7th. We'll do interviews and hopefully have a contract in place by beginning of June for the RFP, or for the architect of record, my apologies. So we've reviewed this, legal's reviewed it, Colleen Pineda actually was the one who drafted it. So we feel pretty good about it and just hoping to be able to move forward so we can get the project working.
Cool. I will make a motion to release the RFP, request for proposal for an architect of record for the courthouse renovation project.
Second it.
Alright, to a vote?
Aye.
Aye. Alright. That's that. Moving forward on the courthouse renovation project. Give just a second.
Sure was
It's
watching.
coming now,
It's
it's
coming.
coming now.
Alright, agenda item number 10. Discussion and consideration for an RFP or request for proposal for a new computer-assisted mass appraisal system to provide responsible valuing of real and personal property in accordance with Colorado state law. This will be led by County Assessor Mark Wadsworth.
I don't know if I stand or what, it's my first time doing this.
We're not that formal, it's
Yeah.
your call, yeah. I know those chairs suck, but you don't have to stand.
I have been in that office for not even 2 years yet. And I can honestly tell you that every struggle that I have had has been with the current software vendor. Most software for appraisal in the state of Colorado, which requires that all residential property be valued by using the market approach to value, which is the same sales comparison approach, has a function in it that you can use sales of like properties and do a sales comparison approach to value. Tyler does not have that function. I can't wrap my mind around not having a sales comparison approach to value tool in a software that the state requires you use that approach. That is why I would like to put out there for a new system, and it's not just a CAMA system, it would be the ownership, tracking, acreage, all of the data characteristics for every property needs to be tracked and maintained through the assessment system.
Yeah.
There's a lot of problems with the current software. I mean, just last night I revalued, I'm up against the window right now, I'm valuing the entire county for notices of value. Last night I did Westwood subdivision, you guys are all familiar with that, it's across Evergreen. Got everybody's value kind of around $750,000. Posted that value into what is current, what's gonna go out on the notice of value. There's a lot of sales in there. I went in and grabbed those sales this morning, and my coefficient of dispersion, which is the statistical term that they use to measure fit, I was down around 12 last night. Somehow, all of those values, even though what's going out on their NOV is $750,000, is all about 1.6 million. Throws my stats way off. I don't know where that came from. I can't find it.
That's a fault within Tyler.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to rerun all of those, repost them, review them again. I'm gonna do that, I just do that for the entire tax roll tonight. This is what keeps me up till midnight here.
Yeah.
And when you call and ask for assistance on these things,
Yeah.
You don't get the call, you have to put in
you have to put in the ticket. The relationship with our office, and I don't know if it's everybody or what, is we wrote it to the point where I do not get a call back. It's usually an email that has no solution. It's either call our lady that is the chief or the deputy assessor in another county. That's how I got through final certification last year. It was not from Tyler, it was from a lady named Lisa Better.
About how operationally inefficient this Tyler system is for you guys, like it's pretty bad.
It's stupid, okay?
And so I think to streamline this thing, I'm like, are we gonna gain the operational efficiency that will make up for what this costs extra? I mean, you know, what do you guys?
I've gotten only one estimate back from a company called GSA. I have another one from Harris Govern. Looks like to me the conversion cost would probably be around $160,000 for the GSA, which can be spread out over 10 years, I understand. So the abatement level alone last year, because when the values that I had changed to pass the audit in 2023 were put in there as overrides. That system will not accept an override value, and I didn't That's the only way I could get values in the system to pass this audit. We would have had to reappraise the entire county if I
So,
didn't pass this audit. And I had to change a lot, but they reverted back to the original value that was sent out in May on the notice of value. Even though people had appealed, we had a lot of adjustments, so I had to send out abatements to every one of those guys because they got a tax bill that was erroneous.
Yeah.
That
So
would equal over $500,000, and that's not money we really lose.
Yeah.
But it's money that has to be refunded and it affects the mill levy for the next year on every taxing entity.
yeah,
So
So-
let's,
And that would never happen again. It won't, I'm not gonna let it happen this year again either,
Yeah.
it won't, it's just, but and you have to put in like acreage, you have to put that in 3 different spots. Garages are used, they are valued either by an extra feature which destroys that use of that property when it sells because it's 2 lines of data and you can't just put it into an SPSS and value these things with 2 lines. Or you put it in as a percentage of living area and it gets valued at a certain percentage compared to the living, and explain that to a taxpayer. Or your garage is 5% of your 2,000 square foot house.
right,
Or whatever percent you assign.
so you're
And to
saying
determine all of this stuff is just boom, you know, I can do it and I've done it, but
we can
it's
get the
not
cost of this
the most accurate way to do it.
summarized as 16 a year, if they'll spread out the full cost of it over 10 years, on average, I mean, it's gotta be in the ballpark, even though we've only gotten one
I
proposed,
I think we
answer
did
to
get
the-
one from GSA last year when Tim was still here, we went over it. We both got so busy, we never reviewed it. I was going to get an updated one, but the Harris governed one was
You're
twice.
backwards.
Harris governed was much better,
Yes,
well,
like twice.
and you
well,
guys should have got the GSA with the memo stuff. I gave you a copy of this. Okay.
right now what we're talking about is getting the RFP so that we can legally look at all the different options, so that then we would be able to have a discussion about like, well, which one costs what
Yeah.
and how much
Okay.
labor could we save and blah, blah, blah. So for
So
now,
I'll
You
cross
gotta
that
fix
bridge
it.
later.
Yes.
Okay.
for
And this is the
now,
first step.
I'm gonna move to approve an RFP for a new computer-assisted mass appraisal system to provide responsible valuing of real and personal property in accordance with Colorado state law.
I will second the motion.
to vote,
Hi,
Aye.
aye,
let's get you some
let's get this thing
legal
fixed.
bids.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, got you, Mark.
Okay, you're up next, Ed.
And
alright, number 11, agenda item. Discussion and consideration of an alternate protest and appeal procedure for the 2025 reassessment year. This will be led by Assessor Mark Wadsworth.
this goes right hand in hand with what we were just talking about.
Perfect.
We did the extended or alternate appeal period in 2023, that way it got me time to change enough values and get those in place before we certified in November. Last year, we did not move to do the alternate thing because I figured we were in line, it's an intervening year, hardly anybody got met values. I found out when I went to certify in August that I was way off. The thing that they have in there is called value tracking, and it does pretty much everything flat. But I had to go into every one of those the abatement accounts and do by hand how much change was done, which put me behind in all of the new construction, which is very important because if you don't certify the correct new construction amount, I don't know how this new law is and everything, but in the past, Tabor put that amount of new construction and growth, it's exempt from the entity's budget increases. So if you're not putting that new construction value in there correctly, it is impacting every taxing entity's budget.
Wow.
And so that's why I was 2 months late last year, is because I wanted to make sure and I had to make sure that that number was right. That's why I'm going to the extended appeal period again, because after protest or after notices of value go out, I'm gonna have to go into every one of those new houses that's at 100% complete or just finished last year and put in the correct value, or else I'm gonna be certifying the incorrect new construction value to everybody.
Okay.
on a side note of that, guys, regarding that certification in August, a lot of those certifications come to BOCC, to your mailbox. We had an issue last year where y'all weren't checking your mailboxes, it wasn't you, it was the prior board. Please do me a favor and check your mailboxes in the clerk's office at least once a week. Because that really did not help getting those certification mailings out last year.
Gotcha.
So that's my only request of you, other than to approve the extended protest, whatever.
Okay, check our mail, make sure we get it to you all.
Yeah, because those certification letters, those budgets,
Yeah.
come in from those taxing authorities, they come to you, they need to come to us out of that, okay?
Yep,
And
promise.
yeah, when we find the first ones, we'll take a mental
But they-
snapshot, so we know, pick them out right away and.
There's 2 of them sat in those boxes for over 2 weeks last year.
What is the like, around what time of year, just in case, see,
Well, we certified in August 25th.
yeah,
I will be sending a certification out on August 25th, even if we go to this extended period, because the state makes me do that.
Uh-huh.
The numbers aren't gonna be as accurate, and then we recertify on the alternate period near the end of June, of November.
Yeah.
That will be after the county board has heard all of the protest, and we say this is our tax roll. Then that goes out to the entities in early December. That's the final certification. Every entity sees what their assessed value is, what their budget is, and they mill accordingly. That's when those mill levies come in. And then after we get the mill levy set, I certify the tax roll, calculate taxes, give it to Pat.
so in December is
So in
when-
December is actually
December
when
is
you're gonna
crazy.
get these, yeah.
Because those things have gotta be in, I think by the 11th of December, those final taxing authority things, their certification, their mill levies. And by the 23rd, Mark has got to have that mills certified into the state with your approval on it.
Yeah.
So I mean, December is crazy for timelines for that stuff.
Okay.
So we all gotta be on it.
I'm putting it in my calendar, and we'll all try to remind each other, and you all will try to remind us, okay? Okay, cool, thank
Happy
you.
holidays, check your mail.
Check your mail.
Oh yeah, you guys are gonna hear that for Thanksgiving.
We welcome
Did
it.
you guys
Bring
check
it
your
on.
mail?
Yeah,
Let us
please
know.
walk us to our
Check my
mailbox.
door.
Okay, well, I've moved to approve an alternate protest and appeal procedure for the 2025 reassessment year.
Seconded.
The vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Alright. Moving on.
Last one, Mark.
Agenda item number 12, we have a discussion and consideration of an agreement with Masters Touch LLC for the there we go.
The mailing of the mass update,
Okay.
the mass
Mailing
reassessment.
notice of valuations from the assessor's office. Led by Assessor Mark Wadsworth. Take it away, Mark.
Oh, you want me to do this
Oh,
one?
you know it.
Okay,
Backed up
So-
by Sherry Popovich. Take it away, Sherry.
so every other year, as you know, we have to send out NOVs for all property across the state of Colorado. Alright, this is the year for reassessment. By May 1, those NOVs have gotta be out. Because Mark and I are new at this, we did not realize that there's this whole convoluted way to do this. So, Masters Touch has done it in the past, they also sent out the tax notices in January for the treasurer. So we need approval of their contract. And we need approval of their estimate for the postage. We gotta get that check out to them. They told me yesterday 7 to 10 days, once they get our information to get it done. We've gotta prove it, we've gotta review it. So that's what this is for. It's been done, I guess they've done it forever for us, for the county. But this is the first time somebody actually paid attention to the rules and gave it to you guys to look at.
And it's budgeted, right?
It is part of our professional services.
Right.
Yes, we know it, it will happen every year. I'm gonna try to be a little more on top of it next time and get all this done by January, so there's none of this going on.
Okay.
And I hate to push you on it, but we really are in a hard spot, whether you approve it or not, it's gotta be done.
Yeah, it's budgeted and
Yeah.
I move to approve the agreement with Masters Touch LLC for mailing notice of valuations for the assessor's office.
I will second the motion.
To a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you,
There
team.
you go.
Thank you
Thanks, guys, for all you
Keep up the
do.
good work, don't quit.
Yeah.
Just know that if he leaves, I leave.
Noted, Sherry.
Really?
They're a team, they work at the bank together.
Had enough heart attacks today, I don't need any more, come on.
What a day.
Alright, number 13, discussion and consideration of a license order from Airtable for a relational database software to streamline processes and practices within the county. This is led by Information Technology and Data Manager Justin Morris. Go ahead, Justin.
Thanks,
Welcome.
everybody. Thank you. Yeah, so we've been vetting some software to improve, obviously, operational efficiency at the county. We reviewed about like 10 different platforms and we settled on Airtable as our top choice. We're looking to get like 8 licenses, which is $45 per user per month, so that comes to like $4,300 a year. It's a really flexible tool. It allows us to do a lot of things. We can basically build out workflows. That can be project management, contract management. I want to use it for IT ticketing, all kinds of stuff. Honestly, the idea is to keep expanding. But this will allow us to organize our information we're collecting through these different processes, so I can centralize my IT ticketing into one place, so I know how often IT support tickets happen, whether they're resolved, any information else that I want to collect on it, and it allows us, like I said, it's a centralized place, we can report out on it. It allows us to create like process steps for seeking approval on things, so like if a contract is submitted via a web form in Airtable, because that's what you would make, is web forms, people submit their information, it gets kind of shunted through a process that we design with staff members, and then hopefully gets to an approval step or end goal, and then we can just have all that information centralized. It reduces work for staff members, so like repetitive things, if you're sending out like email reminders, like I said, you're getting approvals, or maybe you're like trying to do a lot of work before a deadline, the tool can help you facilitate all of that. So we're kind of collecting ideas, but some of the big ideas for this would be like I said, IT ticketing, grants management, contract management. These all have processes now. They're just very hard to report out on because so many of them rely on like word of mouth, emails all over inboxes, maybe phone calls, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is kind of like a centralized automation project management tool. Happy to answer any questions. Realize it can be a little technically confusing, but yeah,
I have 2 questions.
Sure.
Number 1 is, can you tell us who are the users you're hoping, like, tell us the departments or users you're hoping?
Definitely. Well, for starters, IT, so it would be me.
Yeah.
We're looking at using some processes in finance, so that would be like Catherine, the grants manager. I'm sure the finance director would want to have a user license just to go in and do reporting. Contract management, so like Sandra, when she's collecting agenda items for meetings and whatnot, that would be another. And honestly, anyone else who's interested in running kind of a more complicated workflow.
Okay, so could this be part of an asset management? Could this software do asset management so that tickets can be assigned to buildings as well as like IT devices?
100%, and I actually want to use it for IT asset management as well.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest benefits of Airtable is it's completely agnostic.
Yeah.
It's not designed for project management specifically. There are tools out there that help with project management.
Right, yeah.
There are tools out there that help with asset management. This can basically do it all because it's so flexible. Because what you're doing is you're just collecting entries with information, fields on a form that gets created like in a row in an Excel sheet. That's like an asset you just enter.
Yeah.
That's like a contract you're looking to vet or approve, etc. So it kind of makes a spreadsheet view for you and that's your base, that's like all of your information on this contract process. So you might have like 50 contracts in this sheet. And then if you have like deadlines, like as a column for these contracts, you can have it trigger emails based on the deadline. So like this contract's gonna be reviewed in like 7 days. Here's an FYI email, or like you have to apply for grants by this deadline. So here's an email a week in advance, a month in advance, so that you can get your ducks in a row and get the grant acquired.
Did you talk with Public Works about it?
I have not, because they do have currently their own tool, and
Right.
that's, I think, still under contract, and it works for them. Something that tool does, which is PubWorks, is it allows for like mapping, like you can put pins on a map. Airtable doesn't really have any GIS or mapping
Yeah.
qualities to it,
Yeah.
functions. But yeah, asset management is something that they can totally do.
I'm just thinking like vehicle management, vehicle maintenance, scheduling that, having an asset.
Totally.
Does Liz have like this is an operations, not just IT.
Yep.
So I was just wondering if this had had the bigger discussion about, is this the right platform that could serve all of our departments to manage not only this ticketing service, et cetera, but asset management?
I believe so. I think it has great potential for all kinds of applications. I think our goal was to start out smaller, and then as we start building out these projects with people, other people will catch wind of it, and they'll be like, oh, this might be something that I'm interested in.
And some institutional knowledge about it, so we don't have to constantly rely on consultants, but we can build that information in internally.
Yes.
I like that, okay.
Yeah, we wanna use it for grants, IT, we've already demoed it in front of all of the departments to just say, hey, this is potentially coming. So the hope is that if they get comfortable at it at like a contracts, grant, IT level, that they may become more comfortable in implementing it in processes.
Sure.
Very cool. Thank you, sorry.
Alright, I will move to approve a license order from Airtable for relational database software to streamline processes and practices within the county.
Seconded.
Before we vote, can I ask one question? Can we get like a 6-month check-in to see where we're actually making gains from this versus the costs? Just so, before I came in here, I didn't realize just how important operational efficiency is for organizations like this. It's just so hard to find the dollar values on it. So as good of a picture as we can paint, like 6 months down the road, of like, here's how it's helping us, then it just helps me sleep at night when we're spending taxpayer dollars.
I wonder the same things, Andy, so yes, I can
Sweet.
totally do that.
Alright, to a vote?
Aye.
Aye. Alright,
Thank you, Justin.
thank you, Justin. Alright.
Do it,
Agenda
Andy.
item number 14, I don't think,
We're on 14,
yeah, we're on 14, that's
the
right.
exciting one.
Discussion and consideration of an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Leadville for the funding and operation of the Leadville Lake County Animal Shelter, led by the BOCC.
I move to approve.
Whoa, cool your jets.
We can always discuss after, but we've looked at it a billion times.
We got
Sorry.
some,
Go ahead.
in light of new information.
No.
I gotta be responsible with this one, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You can blame it on me.
No, thank you for,
I have some unanswered questions still in light of new information. Section 4.3 jumped out at me. I just looked at the most recent quarterly budget report for the animal shelter, which has ballooned significantly. I thought we were good for this year, and that we wouldn't have to get into these conversations until next year. However, section 4.3 says, the city shall provide an itemized invoice to the county quarterly on or before the 30th day of March, June, and September, and December, for the county's share of operational and capital expenditures incurred by the animal shelter. What was never made clear thus far in our negotiations was if the city allows the animal shelter budget to balloon mid-year, are we on the hook for their allowed increases? And so I have these serious concerns now all of a sudden, with, I have done my best to make it clear that the county is really focused on fiscal responsibility with the animal shelter. And now we kind of have a big question mark. I don't know how the verbiage on this one plays out. And I might need an extension to get this sorted.
Sorry, Commissioner, are
I
you
don't know.
talking about this fiscal year, or sorry, this calendar year, or?
Yeah, this calendar year for the remainder of 25. If we approve this, does that mean right away we're on the hook for all the budget increases that are being made without our consent? Our portion of it.
How much has it increased?
It went, they went up to $380,000 and change.
384, yeah.
What was it at?
Which was, so
320?
last year's budget was the 384, whatever. The prior BOCC approved for their budget this year, $160,000, which was based on the actual expenses from last year.
Right, so when,
But the city approved the budget for this year in the same amount that it was last year, the 384. Yeah. And so the concern is that the county's only budgeted 160, which times 2
yeah,
is
320.
320. So that if they end up expending the full budget amount, leaves a gap that would require the county then to allocate an additional $32,000 plus to make up its share of the 50% of the expenses.
But I have let Lori Simonson and Mayor Green know that you all may want to put something in that says your budget will not change this first calendar year. My feeling that I got from Mayor Green was we need to move it forward, okay? So you can certainly, that's an option available to you, to put something in there that says this calendar year we will not increase our budget versus what we adopted, and we will not be on the hook for more than $160,000. It's pretty, for me at least, on page 4, 3.7.2, it does say that you will not be on the hook. Anything that's unbudgeted will go before the advisory board for approval. So you will have that control. Again, that advisory board is gonna be deciding it, so we are 2 seats of 3. But yeah, so that's an option to you, if you wanted to move forward or
It's just,
The concern is that the overall approved budget by the city is the 384 whatever. Unbudgeted expenses would be things that weren't identified when that budget was approved. It doesn't mean that amount would come down.
yeah, I mean, these were issues that, I've identified, right here with just the concerns about what's going on. And without it being in writing, I was pretty good moving forward on the trust factor versus with our verbal agreements that we made sitting down with them. I've had the trust issue shaken a little bit this morning with some other developments that happened. So I'm really, Lauren, you did describe what our window was. We could have like an extra week or something to work on this if we had some serious concerns that arose.
Until the 30th.
Yeah, you've got, so the amendment to extend the term that's in place extends the current IGA until the end of this month.
Basically, that was pretty good. The last 48 hours kind of made me, as much as I want to get this thing done and I want to see it off our plates, I'm sorry, I gotta do the responsible thing and I need to ask a couple more questions and get some kind of commitment in writing. The verbal agreements just aren't quite enough for me right now.
can we go through them just so we know? So like this first one, I agree, it seems like we should put it in the IGA, that it's clear that this, we will not, whatever we need to say, we won't be approving more dollars for the 2025.
The root of it stems in what we decide for 26. If we can't agree on a number for 2026, we if we can't agree on a number for 2026, then we revert to each party's previous year budget.
Right, yeah,
Say we just can't agree, we're like, no, we don't need money for that, yes, we do, no, we don't.
yeah,
And we're like, okay, it automatically defaults to previous year's budget.
right.
What I haven't been made 100% clear on is whether or not we revert to each party's portion of the previous year's budget. That's not clear. So what I'm operating in the mindset, and I think I've been pretty clear about this with all negotiations from just a total fiscal responsibility standpoint. You know, like, I wanna save all the animals, but with responsibility to taxpayers, we gotta do what makes best sense from a budget standpoint for each entity, right? What I get concerns with is, some of the vagueness of how that revert to previous budget happens in the event of it, we can't agree, you know, together. We've kinda had some verbal agreements on it, I'm a little shook on some things and I would like to see it be clearer in writing. So I think it's just another small detail, we've already discussed it with the city, they're okay with it, I just wanna make sure I'm reading it in front of me clear before we just go ahead and say yes.
What are the other things in it that you're, like some of the details that you're
I
concerned
think that was the biggest holdup for me.
Can we pull it up? Like, can we talk about this right now? Let's pull it up and,
Yeah,
cause if we, yeah,
also, you know, I'm starting to get to the point where there's so many versions of this floating around out there that I think between members, even within the county and within the city, I've found a couple times, some of us are looking at different versions of this IGA. So I just wanna make sure we have a solid master, this is the one, no more edits, that we're all looking at together.
And if I can say, this version that's in your packet was never submitted to legal for review. So it's,
Send it to you.
there were changes made after that, cause I did a compare of it and there were
Okay.
other changes too.
So I guess that would be my last thing, is that we've made so many small changes at the last second, I don't think it's fair to everyone to.
So yeah,
in the event an agreement as to the animal shelter budget cannot be reached by December 1st for the next budget year, the animal shelter budget for the next budget year shall default to the prior year's animal shelter budget. Yeah, that's,
which
Which
is what
one?
the city sets.
which one?
The city sets the budget.
Right.
So, yeah, so like, you know, I'm okay with the 160 number we contributed, I would really need to see a lot of data, you know, important information that would convince any of us, you know, cause we're all like in a penny pinching mindset of, you know, what justifies an increase. As it's written, my concern is that we'd be on the hook for any extra increases that were passed without our approval over the course of the rest of this year.
Yeah, totally, it's about managing this transition between the two different budgeted lines.
Yeah, it's,
By the two entities.
If
There needs to
it's-
be some sort of bridging.
yeah, I scribbled in like of each entity separately, but I don't even know, I'm not, this is a new language to me and I'm doing my best to learn it as fast as I can. I still find things that jump out, but, you know, again, like I think, you know, regardless of what we're doing, we're still, you know, I'm okay having a pretty big take the plunge, level of trust, that kind of approach, you know, they're just, this one jumped out at me.
That's great, Andy. Well, staff, what do you think? Is this something we could just change and then adopt it, or should we?
Well, we wanna make sure the
Slow down
cities,
even
you know, it's a partnership, we gotta make sure they're okay with it. If they're not, we might, this could fly off the rails again, but I just, to be responsible to the county taxpayers, it's just something I didn't catch until
Yeah.
late, I'm sorry, but it's,
No apologies, Andy, none needed from me at least, I'm just wondering if this is something we could change right now, adopt it, And then tonight, city council is supposed to be adopting it. Is it something we could just send over with amendments?
I'm
I just
okay
got
with
it
that,
yesterday
that it'd be
anyway.
up to the city, but I think that's a big ask.
Well, Lori's
Plus it
here,
hasn't gone
we
through,
can, sorry.
hasn't gone through legal, right?
Well, no, but I mean, that's in terms of, I did a compare between the last version that I received and the one that was posted in here, and there's some nits. This is, I agree, the biggest issue for y'all because otherwise, if it defaults to 160, then the city needs to be prepared to pick up that additional
220.
almost $5,000 on its own.
Right.
And they need to have the ability to have input on that,
Right.
before they do that. And I'm not sure, Lori might have been given authority for that kind of stuff, I don't know.
Go ahead, Lori.
Sure, I guess the ultimate question was, can you revise some language in your meeting today and pass the IGA and then have the council consider that tonight? And of course, the answer is yes. I mean, I think that that is the ultimate goal of everybody, was that you all have your April 30th deadline on your extension. So all of us have been scrambling and interim county manager and I were doing the last touches on this Friday morning and into Friday afternoon to try and get this so that we could, I think everybody just wants it to finish. And so the ultimate thing is, what is your proposed change? And if you pinpoint exactly what your requested change is, and then I'm clear on that, what I could do is even redline the document and have that for the council tonight. The most recent version, I know there were a lot, the most recent version was the one I sent Ms. Schneider at like 3 something on Friday. So that is the agreed upon. We were both gonna put that in our packets. And so,
Emailed me.
Yeah,
Okay,
she
so
More on that
this
email.
should be it. So I printed it out.
yeah, because there were some last minute edits from your side that came into us Friday morning, and we were like, we just got on the phone. We said, look, it's important for both parties to hammer this out. And so, between us, we hammered them out and got a final version that we are hoping everybody's agreeable with. If there is a proposed change, I would suggest be very clear on the exact wording, and I can make a note of it right now, and you can explain your position to the city council tonight.
Okay,
If that's your proposed course of action, I would say, rather than kicking this down the road, that may be the best idea.
if you guys wanna do it now and we'll screen share, you can write down or, screenshot what our suggested changes with the right verbiage and then, yeah, if you need,
I think my suggestion just here would be add a sentence in this 4.2 impasse at the end that says the parties agree that the budget contributions for 2025 shall be as approved by each party in their budget adoption. So, and we can go to the more specific of with the county, or really, I'm sorry, I know.
For 2025.
Parties agree that the budget contributions for 2025.
Oh.
Yeah, geez, time travel. 25 will be as adopted by each party in their respective budgets. Now that, if Lori's, I don't need to give Lori any advice or guidance, but if I was the city, I might wanna revisit in terms of, because then that would be them agreeing that if they stay with the $384,000+ budget that the city approved, that they would then pick up the difference from the county would not do that.
Yeah.
So, and if you wanna be more specific, you can say, including in the county's allocation of $160,000.
The only question I have on that is, people don't always spend their budgets. So I don't wanna say that the budget contribution will be as adopted, because if someone spends less, that means we have to give them more money than we spent. So I would say, the parties agree that and parties, the word parties should be capitalized. The parties agree that the budget contributions for 2025 will be no greater than as adopted by each party, with that word being,
Yes.
and party should be capitalized. That way, again, budgets are estimates. So,
I think that's a great point, because in fact, the county's budgeted allocation for this year was based on actual expenses from last year, not the budget from last year.
Right.
So I think that's a great point, thank you, Lori.
Yeah,
I guess the only thing that we would have to, the only thing we would have to figure out, is if at some point something happens and we have to do a supplemental, some unforeseen circumstance, but I don't know how we would account for that in this. Or maybe we could say in their respective or supplemental budgets. Why don't we do that? Because that way you guys can decide if you want to do a supplemental budget, and we can decide if you want to do a supplemental budget. Does that make sense?
You would have to approve.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Supplemental,
it would, yeah,
sure.
it would, yeah.
Yeah,
It is
because you'd have to go through the same process on your supplemental, as a regular budget. That way, if there's something we haven't thought of, this doesn't tie our hands.
Let's put the after and sentence here, if the parties. The budget will have to previous year's budget, yes.
Adopted by each party. Okay, cool. Sweet.
So that,
Did
let me,
did you say something like you wanted one of us to be there to present to city council tonight, the change? Or, I mean, if so, I will. I thought I heard you say something like that, like.
No, I can present this concept. I understand the position, I understand your rationale, so unless you want to be there to answer any questions, no need.
Okay, cool. You know how to get a hold of me. Alright.
Run down the street.
Yeah. Smoke signals, whatever. Alright, well, Lori, thank you for being here and helping us through that. With that sticking point for me, I'm good.
Yeah, and I just wanted to apologize for not being there in person. I was in a staff meeting and I was gonna run down the street, but I wanted to join as quickly as possible. So I intended to be there in person, but
You're
apologies.
still healing. We don't want you to run.
Running.
You ride your bike.
I don't think she can ride yet.
I will take that as a direct order.
Alright, okay,
Sorry.
wow.
That was great. I'm glad we
Last,
chatted about
these
that.
are like this, I mean, you talk about down to the wire.
Where's Finn? Like, this is the drama of the
I know,
day.
that's why
this
he
is-
was here for that.
This is juicy stuff. Alright, well, we hammered that out. What do you guys think? Any other questions, concerns from BOCC, Lauren, Chris?
I've given my mark in terms of the concerns that remain, and that's so I'm 100% comfortable with whatever decision you all.
Good, thank you.
Okay, what do? I move to approve the changes as revised. I move to approve the animal shelter intergovernmental agreement between the city and the county as revised.
I'll second the motion.
To a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Angie, well done. Staff, well done.
Thank you,
Really.
staff. This one was a massive part with Lauren. Thank you, Lauren, for everything you've done to make this happen. I cannot express how much gratitude I have for your hard work on this.
Freaking epic. Okay.
I almost jumped the gun on that, Andy, good thing you stopped it.
Yeah, it's been a crazy morning with this one. Alright. Okay, agenda item number 15, county manager's monthly updates. This is led by interim county manager Mark Snyder.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of updates in your packets, from the assessor's office. We heard from Mark that he is busy doing 2025 reassessment values so that his notice of evaluation can go out in time. Our tourism and economic development team, right now, Q1, so January, February, March, our visitation numbers are down in Lake County and across Colorado. So people seem to be holding back on spending. Our tourism office is leaning into Lake County as your base camp for history and adventure. So say it often, say it loud, say it proud. We are in talks with our marketing efforts with both Chaffey County and Copper Mountain, having the same type of lingo. The Twin Lakes Inn is for sale. Right now the price is about $2.2 million. For public health and environment, they have a lot of updates, so I recommend just looking through this document. They did get an abrupt notice about loss of COVID dollars because of a lawsuit. There is a what's it called? The temporary restraining order against that move from the administration, so those dollars are still flowing right now. But we did work very closely with the finance department to try and get in all of those invoices to be able to pull down those dollars as quickly as possible. We did submit our measles preparedness plan to the state just in time for Colorado's first identified measles case that happened in Pueblo at the end of March. We're closely monitoring this as we start to see our visitation numbers come in when we get people from across the country. Let's see, our senior center did get approved, just so you all know, I approved them to use their P card to purchase Rockies game tickets. Seniors participate, but they also pay cash to do that, so it's $20 to cover their ticket, parking, and driver's fees. This goes back into the senior center budget, but you will see it as a P card expense, but we get it back in a different way for everyone interested in why we're buying Rockies tickets for our senior citizens. Human services, lots of interesting updates, good updates. We did get through our Medicaid backlog. There is no extended waits for processing your Medicaid application, so awesome job, team. It's a huge thing. We're seeing a lot of great progress in our SNAP timeliness numbers, but it's still an area for growth for us. We have a new interim child welfare deputy director is now the director of child welfare, Anthony DeBracci. Alondra Acosta, she is the lead benefits case management, leads case manager for economic security. Huge things at the state level that I think you all know, but just in case others are listening, the Joint Budget Committee did add $25 million into county administration. It'll be a small amount of increase for us, but we will take every dollar and we are very thankful for them. We didn't see any cuts to our core services funding for the Department of Human Services, which pays for mental health and substance use services for child welfare involved young people, their families, and people trying to do prevention services to keep people out of the child welfare system, which is what we all want. FYI, at the federal level, we are still monitoring that there might be a potential requirement for locals to do match requirements for SNAP. Right now, about $1 million comes into our county in SNAP benefits. People can use those to buy food for their families. If it is a match benefit of 50-50, the county better be ready for $500,000 to be able to bring down that entitlement funding. So we are monitoring that very closely. We are unsure if the state will be in a fiscal place where they could help us with that match. Custom Medicaid benefits for the expansion population, i.e. working adults. And then potential work requirements for people on Medicaid. We are specifically worried about people with disabilities who oftentimes can't work but are on Medicaid. So, operations, you're gonna have a multi-factor authentication that's being rolled out. We are doing this for a reason. We actually get to access a full $1 million insurance coverage if we have this multi-step authentication to keep us away from any attacks. Am I doing all right?
You do great.
I know,
Ran- ransomware, cyber attacks,
Cyber attacks, yeah.
insurance.
You all mentioned this, but we are getting ready to do some burning of our slash files in April, weather permitting, up at west of Community Field. Lots going on around audit or grants for them, and they have a new MOU with the Upper Arkansas Watershed Collaborative. Human resources, we are starting to do hiring for summer internships to begin in May. The HR manager interviews are complete and a new hire is expected to start early May. Very excited about this, so congrats to Zoe, she's getting some great help coming her way. So we also are starting to go over numbers about going up to bid for health insurance. We could see up to 10 to 20% reduction in our costs for health insurance, which is wonderful. So great job to Zoe on that. The library, their annual report is complete, so if you wanna check it out, that link's there. We did have an individual in our community who did some vandalism against the library. Those charges are being dropped.
What?
However, felony charges associated with the library are moving forward.
Felony charges are still being
yeah, so.
No.
Take it, okay. I think it's public. And then CSU Extension, Diana, she's working on summer projects, a 4-week science series during their summer reading program, which is really exciting for her young people. She's working with C4 on summer gardening workshop series, and they are gonna be participating again in that wildfire resilience fair. So, cool things happening. Awesome.
Who's Pam Houston, is that the author?
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you so much for that, Lauren. The charges thing caught me off guard there for a second. I'll follow up, get informed properly on that. Alright, that's it for agenda item 15. Let's move on to the consent agenda. Everyone has read through that and is in agreement on consent agenda?
Yes.
Alright,
I
motion
move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second the motion.
to a vote?
Aye.
Aye. All packet materials for agenda items are available upon request. You can find those at spatus@lakecountyco.gov. To subscribe to email or text notifications, please visit lakecountyco.gov/list.aspx. You can find that on our website as well. You didn't write that down fast enough. And with that, I will call to a close the regular meeting of Lake County Board of County Commissioners.